Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley, and I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocket Jack Comics, and they do have a book out in comic shops called Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, which sort of came out April, May. It was in previews. Hopefully, your comic shop ordered a bunch of those that you could actually go pick up some copies. If they didn't get any, you should go bother them to see if they can order you some. As well as they got some other stuff like Palace of the Golden Princess coming and a variety of other books that are going to be out there. And I believe Guinevere and the Divinity Factory is a multiple part series. So I'm sure that you could jump in at any point, as well as they do run a Whatnot channel, and that is Pocket Jack Comics. And the link down below, if you're brand new to Whatnot, you get $15 off your first order, as well as if you use code Andrew, you get an additional 15% off some sexy comic art. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Piper Steed. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
No, yeah, no. I'm excited to have you. Obviously, your book is fascinating. It is on Fund My Comic right now, and you are fully $20,000 funded. I'm not exactly sure because I think it's been up there for a year, right?
Yeah.
Sort of. Right. So I'm not too sure if it's like it was fully funded for a while, but it's now as additional, but not the point. It's still up there is where I'm going with this. And it's the Little Mercmaid, not the Little Mermaid, the Little Merc, MERCMAID. I want to make that crystal clear. Crystal clear. So obviously, before we dive too much into your book, what is the basic premise of it? Because there's people who know it, and there's people who are saying this sounds really cool, but what's the book about?
um Book overall, it is a different retelling of the classic Little Mermaid. Yes, there's a couple of pokes at Disney as well. But just take that and then add 80s action movie. Is kind of what we went for.
So let me ask this, because now I'm curious, is that obviously I love The Little Mermaid for a lot of reasons. I love Disney princesses in general. But where did even this idea come from? Because people have had a lot of fun with Ariel. People have done things that are both good and bad to Ariel. Disney has messed it up and then reshot it and then messed it up again. To say it nicely. Hey, look, Disney can't get it right all the time. Just look at Star Wars. Bad example. But where did this idea come from? Because it's not even just so much Disney; it's also Hans Christian Andersen as well did The Little Mermaid. But a lot of companies have done The Little Mermaid too. So where did even the idea of saying, "Cool, we're gonna add guns to The Little Mermaid," for lack of a better word? I mean,
It's all started with a shit post. A Twitter shit post. The
we don't fucking curse on this show. I'm just letting you know.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
The joke is we don't fucking curse on this show. That's the joke.
I didn't catch the part.
Starting with the shit post. Continue. You can curse as much as you want. You just walked into it. You just walked into it so well. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Okay, it started with a shit post in response to Disney had just announced or something the live action and was showing stuff, and you had your people going woo, and you had the other people going, what the hell is this? So Pixel Trader, that's what he goes by on Twitter. Don't tell him I forgot his real name. He's there's two co-creators, but he's the one that he just got inspired to make this shit post of a fake comic book cover with a funny little slogan, things are much deader, downwards wetter. Yep. He just really quick with AI made that in response and it got so many "please tell me this is real" responses. And it also got me and the artist in his DMs going, "We need to make this happen. This needs to actually be a real comic right now. I'm so inspired."
So let me ask this, because obviously, and feel free to tell me to be quiet or if I'm wrong, but the way I interpreted your Kickstarter is that I don't view this book and this comic to be the next great American novel, for lack of a better word. That doesn't mean it's not good. I view it to be, this is a ridiculous idea and it's meant to be a distraction, which is what comics are supposed to be. And it's supposed, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I read plenty of things that are just fun to read, and I watch plenty of anime and plenty of shows that it's decent acting and it's well put together, but it's not the greatest Oscar winning performance or a Grammy performance winning position. So what is that like? Because I think that there's something lacking in comics of just having a good, fun, ridiculous idea to do it relatively cheaply in comics versus making a movie out of this. So like, that's what I view your book as, is that this is meant to be like, life's hard, guys, and this is supposed to be a distraction.
That's kind of how I was, I wrote it because a lot of parody stuff is a little bit too remember that time when that happened, this, like, I don't like a lot of parody stuff because it tries too hard to crap all over whatever it's parodying, or it just feels cheap, like knockoff cheap. This was, I wrote it seriously, but it is supposed to be a ridiculous plot, but a plot that makes sense for what it is. If you're thinking in terms of, like ridiculous Rambo 80s action movie, like, so I made sure it had an actual real plot. It was a real story. It had, the elements from the original, but here's a different take on them because we're going to be badass. I'm taking something and making it ridiculous for fun. But it needs to be ridiculously fun. But not so much that it's just stupid. So I gave it like a real plot as to, why all this is happening, to actually get into it, and, if you want to, with plenty of tongue in cheek, hee stuff like that. For the most part, basically like what I wanted to read when I saw that cover, like the fake cover, like, oh, I got an idea for this.
So you mentioned something very interesting, because right now parody is in a very interesting place for I know 4 or 5 people who are dealing with issues with parody, and everybody has a different response to how they're going to deal with it. And it's also, there is massive discussions right now in comics about what is parody, what isn't parody, what is okay to do, what isn't okay to do. And I didn't even view this book on the crowdfunder campaign or from my comic. I didn't even view it as parody. I viewed it as a different interpretation, or a ridiculous interpretation, because you hand the Little Mermaid a gun. I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, this is really funny because it's a little ridiculous. You're handing a Disney princess sweet fairy tale of a gun. I mean, it just, I don't have any other response but to say this is ridiculous. But I also view it as an interpretation now. So, but that's what's so interesting in at least I think it is that, what is that like to say cool, like navigating the waters? Because that has been a very, very third rail issue right now in comics, especially in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, noticed. Well, I only called it parody because, she's got red hair, so the look is a little bit. We also got Sebastian, which is obvious, who's a crab. So, he's kind of a parody of Sebastian. We didn't do Flounder, but we do have Napoleon The starfish. um so I call it a parody because at first, like, a lot of people were comparing it to it was Winnie the Pooh. I can't remember what it was called, but somebody took Winnie the Pooh as soon as it went.
Was it Nick Mueller
Domain.
who did Pooh Hunter or Winnie the Pooh Demon Hunter?
I think that's what it was. And
Because
everybody was like, "Oh, why does everybody taking these childhood, favorites and turning them into the same thing? Demon Hunter, this, that, dark, evil stuff." And I'm like, well, I didn't know about that, for one, and for two, I loved the Little Mermaid. Was my jam when I was a kid, like the original. Like, I was Little Mermaid. I was so upset that my mom wouldn't let me dye my hair red at like 5 years old. um, but so to me, I'm taking something I love and going, let's do something fun with it. But I did classify it as parody because we do have those little nods to how much can we poke Disney without getting in trouble with Disney. But we took more concepts, a lot more of the concepts from the original fairy tale, like, not having souls, dying and turning into sea foam. I also thought it was a good explanation as to why nobody ever finds, dead mermaids beached on the, washed up on the beach or something. Like, maybe you can't find mermaids because they're good at hiding, and when they die, you don't find bodies. Like, but
so to go even further though, and dive a little bit into the story, obviously, you got the Little Mermaid, she's got her kingdom, and then a ship sunk with a bunch of weapons, and somebody wants the ship back and the weapons back, and they don't want to give it back, or they feel like to get those weapons back. I'm not exactly sure, but this means
that's what it was. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. That's the one I'm talking
Blood and
about.
Honey was great.
Yeah.
That was great too. I enjoyed that movie. I saw that in theaters. That was great.
Was it good?
Oh, it was so enjoyable.
Nice.
It was so enjoyable for so many good reasons. The main reason is that you're seeing it. I'm 31, and all my friends are 31. So we went to go see it. We don't go to the movies intoxicated. We should have. It would have been great then too. But it was unbelievable because you're like, this is just a sick movie in so many ways, and it was brilliant. And then and we had a great time. It was worth like the $14 that I paid for it.
Nice. That's my biggest thing. If I at least had fun with a movie, then I feel like I got my money's worth. Even if the movie's not what I expected or this or that, as long as I enjoyed my time sitting there or whatever, then I feel like it's okay. It's a good movie. It's all right.
You're touching upon something, right? Because obviously I don't create a comic. I create this show. This show obviously is a marketing tool because a guest comes on my show, and I'm lucky because I get to speak to my childhood heroes in many ways outside of comic book stuff. And every once in a while, you get somebody who is a legendary comic person on who's been in the industry for like 40 years, and I'm like, how the hell did this happen? But when I go and buy something, I mean, I feel creators have an obligation. If I buy your book, that you have to entertain me. And because if I'm not entertained, I mean, you're not really fulfilling your end of the contract. That's how I feel. And so what is that like? Because talking about Blood and Honey, I was entertained with that movie massively. And I felt like, okay, they earned my money today. And I've been in plenty of movies. I'm like, it's okay. But there's also plenty of movies I don't see in the theaters because I'm like, I don't want to spend the 14 or $15.
Yeah, there's a lot that I'm like, the trailers didn't grab me. I don't want to take a chance on this with how much movie tickets cost now. Way back in the day, dude, I go from like theater hop, let's go watch this. Let's check this out. Let's check that out. Because they were cheap. You get out of one movie, go get a ticket, get another movie. And now it's like an investment. Like, okay, I'm planning my day around this $20 movie. It better be good. But I've had plenty of movies where, I'd come out And, my friends and I would discuss the movie and what we did and didn't like, especially like comic book movies. Come out going, I really hate how they did that with this, or how they changed this plot line. Why is he a she, or whatever it happens to be. You sit there and discuss, because that's what we do, man. We discuss the comic plots. My favorite hero could beat up your favorite hero.
I don't even
it,
see those. I haven't seen a comic book movie in like 5 years.
I haven't really since Endgame. I haven't really, just none of the trailers have interested me enough. But there's plenty that I went into that everyone's like, oh yeah, that movie sucked. I think there was like an Ant-Man where they're like, that movie sucked and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? I went in there not even really liking Ant-Man, and I was entertained. And I'm like, so I get it when people that don't read the comics at all love these movies, because they're not thinking, oh my goodness, that plot
See,
line was so good in the comics. Why did they ruin it? They're not thinking that.
it's interesting because I'm a macroeconomics guy. And so I love macroeconomics. I love money. I love talking about money. It's my favorite thing to talk about. I love talking about the United States economy too,
Oh
and
goodness.
exactly where we're going. But I have a theory, right? Marvel the Marvel movies and the cinematic universe and comics in general are tied to the United States bull market.
Hmm.
So we look at when Iron Man came out, that was 2007, 2008. And then the economy fell apart, but by 2010, the United States economy was fine. So relatively, the United States economy was on a 12-year bull run, give or take, up to 2020. And when did all this stuff start being rough in comics happen? In 2020. And it hasn't recovered, and neither have the movies and a variety of other things. And so when the United States economy is back on track, it is expected that Marvel in particular and a bunch of comic stuff will also get back on track because they are correlated assets. They're
So you
not
think that they'll
they're,
start being entertaining again? Because now they're not even getting the normies interested.
they, I think they'll be entertaining again. I think they'll also get people in because people will have more discretionary income. And then
So they'll be more willing to take a chance on a movie they're not 100%
that
sure they're hyped for.
it's that, and it's also the idea that if you only have 50% coming back in, you can only expect so much growth. But if you have another 500,000 people who see that movie, that means that even if half of them hate it, that's 250,000 people who
That
are
took
now
a chance to.
increasing comics, and then that trickles down into everything else. Because
Makes
what winds
sense.
up happening is somebody buys a T-shirt, somebody buys a Pop Funko, somebody buys a lunchbox, somebody buys a poster, and then all of a sudden, out of that, it subjugates downward into them buying comics, which will increase sales. And then that's how you get into indie comics. So actually, everybody in indie should be rooting for Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It benefits every creator in indie comics to root for Marvel's Cinematic Universe. It is crystal clear to me. I mean,
Oh no, it makes logical sense, but I'm like, but I just can't when they freaking, and if they would stop promoting their movies with don't watch it if you're a this or that or this, if you don't want to watch it, you're a phobe or whatever. Like if they would stop that marketing tactic, then maybe they would be doing
I don't
better.
even pay attention to that. I just look at numbers, right? Because if you have 50 million people in America watching a Marvel movie, and then all of a sudden, because of where we are right now in the economy, that's down to 25 million, money is going to be lessened. So I just look at the numbers, right? So
Yeah.
when you have more money, the numbers increase. And when there's more liquidity and there's less burn on inflation or adjustment period to inflation, that's where this goes. So I know for a fact that the whole comic world is going to turn around. It's just, is it going to turn around in the next 8 months, or is it going to be another 2 years?
Well, back when they were on the upswing, their movies were also good at that time.
That could also be true, or it could be that we were less critical because people had more money.
Well, we were still, as far as I know, the fans that were already fans of the comics, they were critical as hell, but the movies were still good. Like they were still entertaining. Um,
This is
And
a far
then
cry from your book, though. This is a far cry from your book.
that's true. We're like on a mega tangent, but it's still fun to like talk shop. It's fun to talk this kind of stuff
because nobody does it. Nobody does it in comics. It's the same issue that I have right now where we talk about, I don't want to name names, but I know like 5 shows that say we're going to talk the making of indie books and all things indie comics. And I'm like, all you guys do is talk story. Nobody talks about fulfillment. Nobody talks about how you market your book. Nobody talks about how you get on podcasts. Nobody talks about, hey, how do you just take off Thursday? And it sounds weird, but like I don't create a book. I have no desire to. I sell a lot of comics and I sell a lot of baseball cards, and I'm getting into selling autograph merch.
Woo.
Like that's what I do on as my side hustle, and I have a day job, but I have no desire to write a comic. It seems really hard. It just seems really hard because I'll ask this, right? I'm presuming you're the writer, you're the art director to some degree. You are the coordinator. I mean, I don't tell me if you don't do one of these jobs, just tell me to be quiet.
Pixel's doing the coordinating on this one.
What'd you say?
Pixel's doing the coordinating on this one. So he's like the coordinator, he's the merch guy and the marketing guy. Lucky for me, he's the numbers guy because I hate that part.
Right?
But yeah.
Most people, most writers are the art director. They're coordinating the whole project. They're reaching out to the cover people. Their money might be kicked into this and pumped into this. And so all of a sudden, this is really, really hard. And it takes a lot of money to do it. And so like, I have no desire to write a comic because I'm like, do I put in $3,000 of my own money, get this thing off? Or is there a better use of my $3,000 that may give me more enjoyment? And this is the dilemma I have because I'm a macroeconomic guy and I like numbers, and I would rather buy a baseball card and then sell that baseball card within 4 months or 3 weeks or whatever it takes. And then I get my money back and then some. But I didn't have to do much work.
I'm definitely in the opposite mindset where I'm just like, I want to do what I need to do to get a story in front of people for them to read. This idea I have, I want people to read it. I want to see if they think it's as cool as I do, like, which is a gamble, honestly.
Well, I mean, I gamble on merch, but my whole theory is that I'm just trying to make some money, and then I deleverage out into safe investments that pay me monthly dividends. And then I just repeat this out because I get a thrill from finding shit that people don't know they need, and then they need it.
No, I got you. You're I'm just completely like, I'm not the numbers person. And so the dollar signs are like the last thing I think about when I'm writing. The dollar signs are the last part I think about. They probably should be the first thing. But I'm not in, like, I hate math.
I was in skilled slow math, for lack of a better word, is the nicest way I could put it. The issue wasn't that I just didn't get algebra. You give me a spreadsheet and you give me I could give you an economic analysis. I took AP macroeconomics. Oh my God. I was a monster in that class because it had nothing to do with math. It had to do with theory.
Okay. We are kind of similar because I was actually in, like, I got into like honors math or something for like the smart kids, and even the teachers were like, "How did you get in there?" And I'm like, "I don't know. How did I get in here?" But it's because I realized that I can do math. Algebra is where my brain stopped. All of a sudden, it was like, but why though? But up to that point, good at math, even better when so my math class and my science class, say in high school or something, could technically be teaching the same math, and I could be doing crappy in the math class and doing amazing in the science class because the science class was like, here's why you're figuring this out and what you're figuring out for, whereas math class is like, here's this problem. Science is like, okay, here's what we want to figure out, and and I'm like, I don't know, the same math made sense in science class, but not in math class.
Oh man. Oh man. Just I was good in earth science. I was good in biology.
Mm,
I didn't take physics. I quit before that. And then
mm.
chemistry, I barely passed chemistry. I just didn't get chemistry. And
Chemistry had a lot of math, but that was where I was like, oh, this math is easy in chemistry class, but
I had a friend who was in like honors chemistry. He did all my chemistry homework, and I did all the social studies homework. Meanwhile, I had a lab partner, and she thought I was like slow, for lack of a better word. She
oh
was
no.
she was cute. She wouldn't let me do anything, and she's like, "How did you get an A on that lab?" And I got a B plus, and I'm like, "I don't know." And I just quietly pled the fifth. I quietly pled the fifth. Because she realized that I had one of my best friends do all my chem homework. He's like, "Yeah, dude, I know the answers to all this stuff anyway, and we're like 5 weeks ahead of you, so just copy my answers, man." And it was great. And then I
Dang.
did social studies homework. It was amazing. It was amazing. That was the trade off. But we are a far cry from your book. I do want
Oh,
to
we
mention,
are.
um, but it's important how people think here. But what is this like though? Because talking about gambling and taking a risk with this, I mean, you are doing a concept that could go either way. When you give guns and weapons and you make the Little Mermaid and you make Sebastian a killer crab, and you know, it could be like this is great and this is awesome, but it could also be like it misses, right? So what is that like to even kind of be in that space? Because I think it's kind of it makes you stop. I think it is the first emotion that comes out of your book is saying, okay, what's this? Right. But like, what is that like when you're even creating something and throwing it out there? Because I've never created something with real capital risk on a creative front.
That's honestly a lot of why I haven't branched off yet to just do my own solo book. That's not like a group effort with the artist or with at least one other person, is because I'm too chicken. Because then that is a lot on my shoulders. And I'm like, I'd rather just I'd rather just write the story and get it out there. So all my books have been like, I've been a co-effort with at least one other person. This one's a 3-person team. Um, this one was a lot of fun though, because it was basically like all three of us giggling and like, sitting there like, hey, wouldn't it be great if, oh, let's do this.
So let me ask you this though, because this is actually interesting. So I know people don't. Some people have co-writers on books, and I know that that's an interesting process. But what is that like? Because I think people in comics. I mean, you've read a bunch of comics, right? I'm taking an assumption here, right? And
Yeah.
tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you've read books where why was an editor on this book? This book is perfect, and this book didn't need an editor, or the person they didn't need an editor on the book, but they had one anyway. And you've probably read books where you're like, this book has a great concept and the art's beautiful, but there's problems, and if they had an editor, there you go. And then sometimes you just need a spelling editor, right? So sometimes it's just a spelling issue, right? Somebody doesn't have a comma or there's just a few words misspelled, which
Yeah.
isn't the worst thing in the world. But then I've read plenty of books where it's like, it seems like I read from page 1, 2, and then page 3 skipped 6 pages. And you're like, what just happened here? And great. Like, I've read plenty of those, and I've read plenty of comics where I'm like, this is a novel. This is not a comic book. So, but what is that like? Because I would imagine that there's checks when you're writing and creating and building something out with your team and the group you're in. That it's like, oh wait, this doesn't make sense.
Um, I can relate because when I'm not writing my own comics, I edit other people's comics. Most of the time when I'm reading a comic, though, I'm reading the finished product. So I couldn't say for sure if they needed an editor or not, because the finished product could be, this is what we got when an editor was involved. So I couldn't tell from like the end product, oh, this was so good they didn't need one. It could be the fact that they had one is why it's so good.
Usually when they don't have an editor and it's a piece, it's not, I don't want to say it's a piece of shit because that's mean, but it's not
But
good.
yeah, if one comes out where I'm like, again, like you said, a cool concept, the execution is oof. The first thing I do is check and see if it had it.
It's even worse because when issue 1 is bad, but then issues 2 through 5 are fantastic. That's also complicated too. And
Sad because the issue 1 will lose the potential audience for the rest of them.
I've read books where issue 1 was a disaster, but then the other 2 through 5 were great. And there was no editor involved. It just so happens that the first issue was the problem issue where you just had to get in to it, and there was no other way how to do it.
They probably took feedback from the first issue, which the editor would have given them before they released the issue, but instead they got it after they released the issue from the people that read it. And that'll help too, with all the other ones, fix the kinks that, oh, okay, they didn't like how this works, so let's not do that.
I've read a lot of books, and it's just
I'm bad because if anything's wrong, it like won't leave me alone. Like I can't not notice.
I'm not an editor. If somebody asks for my feedback, I will tell you my feedback. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, your book sucked. That's not feedback. That's just telling you.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
That's just in your book where I get the character was a bitch. I didn't need 22 pages of that. I needed 4. That's real feedback saying,
yeah,
I get it. If you gave me 8 of that, but then we got the rest of the story, I would have said, okay, we're going a little bit with a slow burn, but 22 pages of this character being a bitch, I don't need that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is good feedback. Is a lot of what, especially editing comics, a lot of what I found myself saying was, this right here could have been told in 3 panels instead of 3 pages.
I had a professor, very, very famous individual, Paul Levitz. So Paul Levitz was a professor of mine, and he explained to me, show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm. And that's comics in a nutshell.
We had an assignment. So I wrote a paragraph of an ant crawling through my room of 6 inches in a paragraph. I don't think anybody understood what 6 inches looks like for an ant. It was amazing. It's like, dude, like it was a good assignment, but I was nervous to read my assignment because I was young and it's tricky when you're reading things in front of your classmates because like, is this good or bad, right? And I'm in a room with a bunch of writers and I'm just taking it because I knew who he was, and so that was my position is that, but he said show don't tell, so but I'm just curious your view on that working in a group, because I would imagine that it probably is a lot more helpful than not.
Like I said, like from this group thing, I am really bad about if the artist doesn't draw the panel the way I wrote the panel, I do not let them get away with it usually. I'm usually like, it says this for a reason, do this. This book, because Eric is not just being hired on for a page rate, he's one of the co-creators. I have been doing my best not to look at the pages until the art is finished and the colors are finished, so that I don't nitpick it to death, because yes, I wrote the script. I know that the words are going to go in there, the way I wrote them. I know that the overall, like, what needs to happen in the panel should happen, but it's his baby too. He's not getting up, I didn't hire him to do this script. This, it's everybody's baby. It's everybody's project. And it is killing me so bad, like going in suspense, because I am so nitpicky about the art needs to do what I said it needs to do.
This is actually interesting because there are ways how to do business, and this goes into a business conversation. I don't want to dive too deep into it. And you could just tell me to be quiet and we'll move on. But there's a difference when you hire somebody for a page rate, where there's no ownership in there. There could be benchmarks, there could be bonuses, there could be saying, hey, look, we'll take care of it on the back end. You could have comps built in there saying, hey, if you give me $10 off your page rate, I'll let you do a variant free of charge on this, and you have your own exclusive variant, and we're going to be printing these books, so you'll just get that discounted printing. There's things like that can be done that could move money around. But when somebody is an equity partner, that is a whole different discussion. And there's nothing wrong, equity versus page rates versus whatever. I've had equity deals. I've had merch exchange deals. I ran a Kickstarter with a friend of mine who's a cosplayer, and he wanted merch instead of being paid. So the Kickstarter, he took half the metal cards, and now he's at conventions, and he sells those metal cards for $10. When you have 120 divided by 58, that's $580 of merch that he has that no other cosplayer has a metal card. I mean, they probably do now, but not the point at the time. So he's selling for $10 to $12 at a con, and it's easy because a metal card is legitly weighs like 4 ounces for like 58 of them. So literally, he throws it into his backpack at a con, and it's worth $580. So it's a good exchange for him. It's a great exchange for me because I didn't have to pay him, and it helped. So
among indies, a lot of us have exchanged work for work. You have a skill set, I have my skill set. I'll use mine on your project if you use yours on mine, and we've traded work for work sometimes.
I've exchanged ads for free comics and free stuff all the time, and of course, I factor in what I charge for an ad. I also factor in how much capital I have, in particular that position, because if I have $500 worth of bills for my show due, I'm not so interested in your merch at the moment. But if I'm relatively okay and you have something that I'm interested in, absolutely, it's on the table. But again, I have to be interested in it. But getting back to I guess the question is that when somebody owns equity, they have an equal stake in the project. And I think that's really, really interesting, is that that's a very different beast, I would imagine. And maybe I'm wrong here, but you can't fire your equity partner. I mean, you could buy them out, technically, but you can't fire them. And so what is that like? Because that's also a very different working relationship.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about my first team book experience was so bad. It was so bad. You can't
fire somebody, you have to get along.
Yeah. No, but that's part of it too. Is part of us getting along is me remembering that, all three of us are creatives, all three of us have ideas, and this is our comic. So we need to, as a group, yes this, no that, yes this, no that. When I was writing, the group, we were full of throwing all sorts of ideas out there. So I got to kind of be the one to go, I can work this, and this into the story. I can't work that and that into this story, especially within this page limit, this and that. So we need to pick and choose which direction we're going, which things are facts, and which stuff is just, maybe would be funny to say on a stream as deep lore, that kind of stuff. But it is, because I'm aware of how nitpicky I am with art when it's a page rate, because when it's a page rate, I hired you. I am paying you to do exactly what I'm requesting, which is draw these panels as they're written. If you have a question, you don't understand it, ask me. Don't just sit there and do it how you want and take it as a suggestion. But this, the artist is one of the group members. It is their book too. And that's why I'm like, I'm just not going to look I'm not going to look at the pages until they're too far done for me to nitpick, so that I don't nitpick. The only thing I've nitpicked is the design of one of the characters. I needed a certain way, especially since we had all like agreed that it was a certain way. So she was written a certain way. And then I found out that her original drawing was completely like opposite of anything that we had talked about. So I was like, who is this? I need the chick that we talked about. Like, I need the character that's in the script.
So to yeah. So to even go further into that though, because also I would imagine that it's complicated too, because nobody's getting paid up front. You're getting equity. I own my eBay business. I don't get a salary. I get a distribution, and there's a big
Yeah.
difference between those two. Now there are nice tax advantages from distributions, because if you don't take a distribution, it's not a taxable event. You know,
Nice.
and if you're paying down debt that you borrowed from yourself, it's also not taxable. But that's not the point here. That's tomorrow night, taxable events with Andrew. No, I don't have that show. Yeah,
That'd be great though.
it's a taxable event. Never say never. In the last month, about 10 people told me I should do a financial like hour on a Saturday night. I'm like, I'll think about it. But
do it while having a couple of those drinks. Like, I think that'll make it even cooler.
I like to drop weight. I am really not interested in gaining any more weight. I am a 31-year-old man. I would like to see 40. But the point that I'm getting at here is that that's also a very different position, I think, when you know that you're either going to get a distribution or profits from when this thing does crowdfund, or you sell books when you're just running them off of a print press, for lack of a better word. And that's also a very different position, especially with owners versus, because once you pay your artist, I mean, once they give you the pages, they're no longer really in the project.
Yeah. They can move on to something else that makes them money. And I think that's what a lot of people don't consider about some crowdfunded comics is, you know, we still need to make a living while making this. So, you know, if our artist isn't making a page rate because he's on part, you know, he's a co-creator, he still needs to draw other stuff so that he can eat while he's doing this. Because the crowdfunded money, we're not just paying ourselves. The crowdfunded money is going to specifically putting the book together, printing off so many copies so that everybody can have their neat stuff, their merch, and their, you know, it's going back into giving them stuff. And then if we're lucky, it takes off, and the overprint and, you know, whatever, maybe we'll have money to print more, you know, hopefully afterwards, the comic that they have helped produce takes off so that the co-creators can start making actual money on it.
No. It's, I mean, I have a sponsor. It helps cover my expenses. And again, I don't make any money from this show directly. I obviously make money from other elements of the show, because you meet people, you can do things outside. I get an insight of how the comic book and markets are going, and even thought processes are going. And to some degree, it's a hobby. Also, the idea is that when I do an interview, and then if you slowly build up big enough, you get monetization on YouTube. You get monetization elsewhere. You could get private sponsorship deals, but it's a back end position. It's not a front end position.
Yeah.
Now, it's not expensive to do this. It's about $300 a year, which isn't bad for the most part. But I'll be honest, some guests want money to be on shows. And my response to that is saying, no, thank you. It's saying, I can't pay you. You don't, and my answer is actually a professional one saying, you don't bring enough to justify your asking price.
I was going to say, I considered anytime somebody's asked me to be on the show, you know, instead of the other way around, I'm like, okay, cool. That's promotion, and you get a show theme out of it. You know, you get a person to do a show with, and I get some promotion. Um, that's already a trade right there.
It depends. So if I used to do 12 to 16 episodes. On 17, 18, 19, and 20, it's going to be $5 because of my spots are all filled up. So if you really need an interview and you need something on a Friday night, and I want to spend time with my girlfriend, she's going to want a good reason. And so it's going to be $20
I'm making money. That's the reason. Yeah.
because I have to make her happy or I get a pass with her. And if she's like, oh, you're getting $40 for the night on top of that, then, all of a sudden I'm giving up something that's mine.
Well, that's still a case of somebody asking you. I was saying, as an example, when somebody with a show asks me, and asks me first, like the first thing I'm thinking is, well, how much are you paying me? That's not like my first thought. My first thought is, oh, cool, they're interested in having me on the show, and I get promotions for being there.
It's also the idea that I share out a show. I'm happy to share out shows, and I share a lot of links in a lot of groups. And again, an interview lives on forever, and then I cut up the interview later on, and then it's a bunch of micro content, and all of a
Ooh,
sudden, fast forward, now you're in a bunch of other things, and it's forever, and then it's searchable.
that's cool. I haven't even thought of the cut and the up thing. Everybody tells me that I need to like start taking advantage of YouTube Shorts, and I'm like, I'm old. I don't how how
Not
shorts.
YouTube Shorts. I used to. I just have 2 to 5 minute micro content out of every interview. And when you want to have 8 to 10 pieces out of an hour interview, and then you put that up, and then you have like 15 of them that come out every 1 through 5, and then you repeat the cycle and cycle and cycle, and then you just keep adding more and more and more. I mean, I'm releasing a lot of content.
That's true. Sometimes people are more inclined to sit for a 5-minute video than an entire, like 1 hour. Clip the best, make the best parts.
The the micro content is targeted purposely. It's targeted, and I understand that that's where I'm going with targeted content because I take a different approach than a lot of other people. The live is great. That's not where is the most beneficial. YouTube is a gigantic search engine library, in my view. The way that people make money and get discovered on YouTube is not by doing a live video. That's really not where it's at. It's the clippable components of it and having a lot of that. It's a Netflix,
Yeah.
Peacock, Disney approach. Theoretically, if people want to make a lot of money in comics, you want to make your comics $1 digitally, and you want 150 of those comics or you want basically to get a pay to read position so that every time somebody reads a page of yours, you get a penny. But you want a lot of content. That's really how you make a lot of money in comics. Now, how does that work? And what type of systems have to be developed for that? That's a whole different discussion. It's the problem that global comics has right now.
I was going to say there are a lot of different directions that people are trying to perfect it. It just hasn't been perfected yet. I do like that idea though, because then if you still want print, that's when you should already have some money to go into printing a volume of those little.
The future is the following: is that I'm 31, the generation behind me and the generation behind them basically wants to click an app, have all their content there, have their content for free, and just wants ads in their content. And so I tried doing the paid thing. It didn't work. I'm now doing the free thing with ads, but also being selective. And so moving forward, I tried the other way. And the next generation legitimately wants to be able to turn on YouTube and watch me for free. And if every 15 minutes I had ads during the show, they would have no problem with it because they're used to free content. So what really needs to happen is that if you want to sell digital comics, every 3 pages, you have an ad, but that ad is a digital ad that can constantly be curated and sold depending on the popularity of the book.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. The real question then becomes that how do you drive traffic to that site? But reading it for me would be free because the money would be
Make
generated
sure
on
it's a really good read. The better your story and stuff. If you build it well, they will come.
if all of a sudden somebody has a comic book that has 150,000 readers, those ad rates in that book are going to be higher than somebody who has only 5,000 readers. And so and so if you have a good product, it's kind of like we have the most popular show on Peacock. The ads that, I'm trying to think of a drug that's not going to get us in trouble. OPEC or Opesi or whatever it is, or Jardians, whatever it is. I don't ask how I know all this stuff. I'm watching a lot of sports right now. Every other commercial is a drug commercial.
Oh, so, dang.
There you go. And then, but yeah, that's my point. So I have the answer here, but nobody ever asks me. Oh my God, I would love to do that. It's not even that hard. They legitimately could do it if they wanted to.
I'm actually considering that for when I get brave enough to strike out, is to skip the print/crowdfunding thing and just do a thing digitally. And if people really like that story, then run with it and go, okay, well, do you want like a book of it?
I interviewed somebody who did something, and we spoke about Survivor because he does a bunch of Survivor interviews, like the show Survivor, Gordon Holmes. And we spoke about Boston Rob because Boston Rob was on Deal or No Deal Island, and we spoke about Survivor, and he's like interviewed all these people in Survivor, like before and during, and he's been out there a bunch of times, and then he did a comic book, but the interview was his comic book was okay, right? But it was only digital, right? I think he drew it himself, and it wasn't a bad book, but it's not the cream of the crop book, right? It's your first book out, but it was only a digital release, right? So that's what was great about it, is that it was only digital. He drew it himself. It was black and white, but it was fun to talk about the concept of it. And so if all of a sudden that 50,000 people thought that digital book said, this is the greatest book ever, you go to print. But he knows that he's probably not going to go to print, but does he have a comic book out there? Yeah, you could really test the market.
That's kind of what I don't do. I draw. I don't draw in these styles that, the books I've written that I want to see them in, or nearly as fast as, so especially like sequential art. I haven't really tackled that outside of doing comic strips for a couple magazines back in the day. Like, I haven't really done sequential art, so I'm a chicken. But that's something else, is like, well, I can poke at that too if I just stick to digital. I can do my story. I can draw it. I don't have to worry about other people's interpretations of my panels if I do it that way, or paying somebody else. I just have to worry about me.
So you could sell it for like $1, theoretically, or you could do it for free, and then you could figure out the ad side of that, where all of a sudden you speak to a bunch of people and somebody wants their ad up there for $500, every 3 pages, there you go. I mean, it's not hard. Obviously when I do my live read for Preston, which is Pocket Jack, that ad stays up indefinitely. And so that's a whole different ballgame. And then when I do micro content ads, because I do sometimes put ads in front of my micro content, that stays up indefinitely. But that's very different than ads constantly moving, which is where I think Global Comics needs to go. If they're watching this and they see that, I mean, it's definitely, they could steal that idea but again, you need to really drive a lot of traffic. And I know there's 5 people that they need to speak to who have legitimately driven millions, if not billions, of people to their websites. There's only 5 in the world. And I know I don't know all 5 of them personally, but I know the 5 names. It's not that hard to figure out who they are. It's, I think, 4 women and 1 man have driven billions of views to 5 websites, if not trillions, which is insane. But I'm not about to make introductions for free. But I digress. I do want to talk about something that you skipping the whole crowdfunding thing, but because you're on an interesting platform of Fund My Comic. So why'd you go there? Because that Luke Stone, he's something else, man. He's something else with his nice funky hats
I
and his
love
nice
Luke.
blue music guitar playing. And you know, moving out to the Midwest. You know, no, I like Luke too. I think I've had Luke on like 4 or 5 times. I just like teasing Luke a little bit about that.
Oh yeah. No, I love Luke. He he reached out to me originally to be editor on his hybrid series, and from there, just like, I don't know, we just got along. We are so different from each other, and it does not matter. Like, we get along so freaking well.
I had Luke on talking about Fund My Comic, and then I asked him some good questions on it. One of the questions I asked him that I thought was relevant is that on Kickstarter right now you could run like 15 projects all at once if you're in good standing, which is good standing. I think on Fund My Comic you can only run 2. If both of them are not fulfilled, you can't run a third one.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like that to some degree. Now, if one of them is not fulfilled, but the other one is, you could run your second one.
Yeah.
But that doesn't answer the question. Sorry for cutting you off. But why'd you come to Fund My Comic? Because there's Zoop, there's Indiegogo, there's Crowdfunder, which I think still exists. There's obviously Kickstarter. If I didn't mention Kickstarter already, there's Fund My Comic, and then there's also doing it yourself, and then there's a bunch of other ways that you can do it. Also, you could just set up your own ClickFunnels if you really wanted to.
I'm not tech savvy enough to do half of those things, but no, I went there because Luke, and because I got to, the creation process, like, and talking about it, learning this and that. He takes everybody's input. So basically, he was, looking at all the complaints that anybody might, comic wise specifically, any comic creator might have about any of these other platforms, and going, okay, well, how can we do that better, or this or that, but also the backers, complaints that backers would have. One of them being, so and so's got a million freaking crowdfunders going and has fulfilled none of them. I think that's messed up. Luke and a lot of us were like, I agree. We need to, just as much as we need to make a place more accommodating, or as accommodating as possible for comic creators, needed to make a place that was, more accommodating to the backers, to the point, where backers felt way more secure and better about backing projects and this and that too. Prior to that, I was using Indiegogo. Rift Riders might still be on there. Rift Riders is the co-creation with Luke, and it was actually on Indiegogo, and then he started making Fund My Comic, and I believe that is why Rift Riders 2 still isn't out. It's because he's busy.
Let's actually talk about this a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff with Fund My Comic where it's obviously a lower processing fee. You guys, creators, get more money, I guess, because Kickstarter takes what, 10%? I think
I can't remember, but yeah, a lot.
That sounds about right. If it's 8% or 10%, it's significant more. But also Kickstarter is also not comic specific. I think Fund My Comic is definitely comic specific. I think there are a few exceptions. So if there's a card game that is somewhat comic position wise, there was just a Kickstarter that may or may not be okay for Luke to put up if they wanted to do it Oshi Push, which has got an anime comic vibe to it. There might be a few exceptions, I would imagine, but you're not going to see a camera tripod on Fund My Comic being nothing wrong with the tripod being funded, guys. That's not the problem. It's just that that's not the place for it. So what is that like too? Because when you have a bunch of, I guess, things on one platform that's specific, I come on to Fund My Comic, I expect comics. I don't have to go through 1,500 other things on that platform. Not that there's anything that could be good or bad though, but that's also something that's really interesting about Fund My Comics, that it is very industry specific.
That's another thing I liked about it is, if you're looking for new indies to get into, bam, there is a site right there. Yeah, it's got card games and some tabletop games, but essentially, the same nerd sphere, very book heavy. I think there's actual books on there too. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's so that you're not competing for attention. You're not competing for attention with a bunch of unrelated stuff, random tech gadgets, what have you. People go into that site know they're wanting to look for comics, indie comics to back or buy, because you could just have a storefront there too. So indie comics to buy.
And then even going further, I mean, obviously, the latest thing that happened on Kickstarter was the whole not safe for work thing with Stripe too. And I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know if there's even guidelines for that at the moment. And that's a complicated issue with the creator who had his thing, and then what could be okay, what can't be okay. So what is, because that's also a problem. I don't even know what Fund My Comic uses as a process server.
I think it's Stripe.
But like, that's a big problem too, is that who's to say that because that's also the latest thing right now with comics, is that what is even allowed on a book. And I don't want to say corporate overlords, but censorship, or the threat of censorship, might be a good way to put it.
So that was one too, that was a big complaint, because previously sites were just kind of randomly, a lot of crowdfunder sites were just randomly enforcing random censorship. But like, your comic that got censored could be featured right next to a comic doing the same thing that you got censored for, and they're just fine. So he is beholden to the payment processor, but basically what the rule is on Fund My Comic is just, outside of, like, we're not doing pornography, these need to actually be like, stories and this and that. Outside of you're good to go, basically, as long as the payment processor is allowing him to say that you're good to go, which is and it's usually pretty fast, but there is a before you post he doesn't do that, letting you post your stuff and getting a bunch of backers and then going, oops, we're pulling it because guidelines. He looks at the thing, make sure that, Stripe isn't going to pull anything on you, then it's live. It goes live. He checks to make sure that Stripe isn't going to wait till the campaign's over and then refuse to process it or something like that.
I mean, it's tricky because at this point, I mean, there's no guidelines with this, and it's a real concern, I think, because I mean, I'll be honest, not safe for work covers sell. A lot of campaigns, in my opinion, are doing the numbers they're doing because they have a lot of not safe for work covers. And there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody wants to buy something, I'm not one to say you can't buy something. Is another person wants to willingly sell it if it's not going to cause me harm.
Yeah, his policy is he's okay. He is okay with those for that reason. He knows they sell cheesecake, sometimes beefcake. The most I've seen is maybe make funny little temporary censor things over like very specific parts. Make cute little, whatever.
I get it. No. I was just curious how you feel, because that's a really big issue, and it's not just a Fund My Comic issue. It's an issue on Indiegogo. It's an issue on Kickstarter. It's an issue on Soup. It's a collective issue in comics, and also we're talking about an issue that's 3 weeks old. This didn't exist 3 weeks ago. This problem.
My overall opinion is guidelines need to be clear. They can't be just randomly, enforced. They need to be very clear, enforced, evenly across the board. And And if it's just like, again, if it's not straight up pornography, it's a cheesecake, kind of stuff or whatever.
I mean, I have a theory on what actually happened on Kickstarter, and my theory is not the one anybody wants to hear.
Oh,
My theory is the following, and I have a reason why I think this way. I just think that they just randomly pick somebody, and somebody had to get caught. They checked off the box. They needed to suffice, and somebody needed to suffice their boss or the trust and safety committee. And it just so happens that person was that person, and they were the scapegoat, and they got fucked over. That's what I think happened. That's legitimately what I think happened. Because
it needs to be enforced evenly, or everybody else is going to be really confused all the time about what is and is not.
And then is that it'll be 1 out of every 200. You gotta suffice your boss. You get fucked over. I'm sorry, but then the other 199 you get to go free, and you get to do what you want. And then
that just confuses everybody. Am I going to be the random stop?
But this happens on eBay all the time. It happens to me. It happens to some of my friends who sell on eBay, and we're like, "There's no nudity in this book, eBay." And then I'm like, guys, legitly look at the book. There is nothing wrong with this book, and it is a random. We took down your listing, and then I put up a topless cover. They're like, totally fine, man. Go have at it. Go have at it. And then I'm like,
the infuriating part right there is,
and I'm confused. I'm confused. And then I put up something else, and I put up a baseball card. They're like, took down your listing. I'm like, why? It's a baseball card of Aaron Judge. And I'm like, I swear to God, sometimes, and then eBay's like, oh man, we just made a bad call on that one. And they put up my listing back up for me, but not the point. The point is that that's what I think happened with that creator. Is I just think he was just targeted because somebody wanted to impress their boss. They needed to get a number up. They needed to get a status up. And I think it's the same reason why sometimes people get pulled over for driving 5 miles over the speed limit.
People are going like 20 miles over past you.
They just stopped person A because nobody's around and they can do it. And they say you were speeding because they're one ticket away from their quota that they need to make for that month. And you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they might even run and say, look, this guy hasn't gotten a ticket in 4 years, so we're not going to torture him. We're going to go after him because he hasn't gotten a ticket in 4 years, and it's not going to hurt him in the long run. Because I need to make my quota. And that's what I really think happened with that. And I understand that my opinion is what I think, but I also think I don't think it's so outrageous.
It would explain what it looks like, like how come it's not enforced over here, but dude next to them, it was.
Again, the reason why people are not going to be happy with this is that it's random. And it's there's only one way this goes, and it's only bad. There's no silver lining in my theory on this one. But I also think it's the simplest explanation. I absolutely think it's the simplest explanation. Because I don't see anything else that suggests otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly like I said, Luke's been pretty clear, at least on where his enforcement is just, if Stripe's not going to let me, then I'm not going to let you go live until you do whatever it is that'll let Stripe let you use Stripe. And outside of that, just, it still needs to be like a comic or something and not like hardcore hentai or something.
My idea. No.
I know, right? There's some hentai has a good plot, dang it.
I was gonna sell it all. To and I was fully committed. I was gonna fund my comic across my chest. It's gonna be a walking billboard, walk around, hentai approved. But I wasn't gonna spell hentai the way people think I was gonna spell it. I was gonna put a tattoo of a picture of a hen, and I was gonna put Tai from Digimon, and I thought it would be clever. Okay, I'm fully committed, everybody.
Damn.
I'm fully committed here. But I guess that's just shot down. But
you know what? Pixel still wants to do a Kickstarter. Pixel likes Kickstarter. I don't. Personally, because I've just never had a good experience as a backer or user on Kickstarter. I don't like it. Pixel does though. So Fund My Comic should fund the making of the book. Kickstarter will be a second chance. Like if you really, really, really don't want to go over to buy it through the storefront of Fund My Comic, come over here to Kickstarter. We've already got plans for exclusives so that you still feel like, if you didn't back over there, you feel like, you backed something, you get special stuff that, those guys don't get, nobody else gets, and stuff like that. But it's a Fund My Comic is we're going to finish the book and start fulfilling there before we do a Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's something that bothers me massively on platforms is when people go either Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdfunder Zoop, and then they haven't fulfilled the book on Kickstarter.
Yeah, the logic is, well, just some audiences are just there specifically. Like, I guess some people just like getting their indie comic crowdfunding comics through Kickstarter and nowhere else. And I'm like, I get it, but
that my issue is that if you're on platform A, and then immediately when that campaign ends, you go to Kickstarter, and I still don't have my book, I kind of feel like you're double dipping without any progress.
Oh no, I don't like it if they jump to the other without finishing fulfilling the first one. Like
that's my issue. And I mean it because I feel like I get it that you're trying to get a massive print number and figure it out. I get it from a business level, but I also feel like saying that, great, you got another 30 days here, and you got another 30 days there. We're looking at 120 days, and then you're gonna put in your print order numbers? Like,
oh yeah, no.
that bothers me.
I don't think that's how he's gonna do it. I think we're fulfilling Fund My Comic. It's just we want the book itself to, be at that state before even creating a
pet peeves. We'll leave it at that. I have big ones, and that's a big pet peeve of mine. That's a really big pet peeve of mine is when people jump from platform to platform because they're trying to figure out how to get a bigger print run number so it becomes cheaper. But why do I have to wait for your economic benefit without getting any benefit of that?
Yeah.
So if I get a benefit from it, that's fine. But when I don't get the benefit from it and you're keeping me waiting, that's just messed up.
Yeah. No, if it's already like everything is ready to go and print and send and all that stuff, do that first. I don't like either where it's available other places cheaper, like the regular version. Now I get it. Like my big thing is for crowdfunding, incentivize, the crowdfunding by, backers get special stuff that nobody else gets that shows that, they were there on the ground floor. They made this book happen. When you go to sell it anywhere else, don't give that stuff to everybody that's coming and buying it for sale price and this and that. Don't give them the same stuff. But
so I'll give an example. I just backed the card game. In the Kickstarter boxes, there's these things called God packs. There's 4 God packs in each massive booster pack. So 99, 24 packs. So there's 20 regulars, and then there's 4 super God packs that have higher pull rates. When that game comes to fruition, maybe 1 out of every 12 boxes will have a God pack in there. But most of those booster boxes that are in retail will not have a God pack.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Incentivize backing by, giving something to them that people buying at retail or whatever aren't going to get or not going to get, as much of, what have you. Something that lets, the backer feel like, yeah, I'm cooler. I'm cool because I came in early so that this project happens, so that people get the chance to go buy it retail. So it really irks when crowdfunders will crowdfund a comic and people find out that they can buy it cheaper at retail before they get what the tiered their backer rewards, that they can actually go and get it like I keep wanting to say over the counter, go to say Walmart and get it for cover price, way cheaper, while they're still waiting for their version. And there's like barely any difference between the versions, if any. That's when I'm like, and it's happened, and it's been a big blow up every time it happens, and it should be a big blow up every time it happens, because that's not cool.
I agree. It annoys me. There's a book right now that I'm waiting from Kickstarter, and I can get it from Amazon, and I'm just like, why did I back the Kickstarter? And that's how I feel. And I'm gonna be excited for the book when it arrives, but I'm like, where's my fucking book, bro? Like, because it's not even a comic. It's an art book that's not comic related, but it's cool. It's music related, and I'm just like, it's a poster book. It's an awesome book. So when somebody's been working in music for like 30 years and they have legitimately 400 posters that they worked on, it's cool to see those in nice paper.
Yeah.
Because some of those posters are really expensive. I know, because I'm eyeing a poster right now from France that's gonna run me like $800, but it's a beautiful poster.
Damn.
It's Battle Royale done in Scott Pilgrim style.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's like all the top scenes from Battle Royale done in like Brian Lee, Scott Pilgrim style, and it's a beautiful poster. And there's only like 400 of the posters in the world, and the poster is going to run me about 600, and then framing is going to run me another 200.
Yeah, that's, if you're going to pay that much for a poster, you want it framed too, for sure.
I mean, the guy I'm taking to on a frame, I'm gonna be like, yo, there's like 400 of these in the world. I'm a little scared. I'm not even touching it, and it's gonna be beautiful. And when people see it, they're gonna know exactly what it is, because Battle Royale is an amazing manga. It's an amazing book, and it's an amazing movie, and everything it's done, and it's just sick. It's the Hunger Games just 50 times better, because it came before the Hunger Games. Battle Royale is a Clockwork Orange meets Lord of the Flies. It is a wild story. And then the sequel, and then the book after that, it's even crazier.
Oh, shoot.
It's
you already had me sold on the poster, because I was just like, oh, that sounds cool.
It's a poster. And they don't come up. That's why it's expensive. And let's just say Caitlin Clark's paying for it. So, oh, it's just terrible. It's so terrible. Her. I can't keep her basketball cards in my eBay store. Everybody, I'm sorry. Like I bring them in, and then they sell out within a week.
Dang. Yeah, she's a big deal right now.
You're buying at wholesale, so you buy a card for $4, and then you sell for like $7.50. You're not making a lot of money per card, but when you're selling 50 of them, all of a sudden, even with free shipping, that cost me 64 cents. I'm making like $1.50 a card plus my $4 back. Then you redeploy the $4, and fast forward 50, 60, 70 cards, every week or every 3 weeks, within like 90 days, I have the money for my poster. This is how I break things down. Who would have thought WNBA, guys?
I know, right?
Except her autograph's massively expensive.
Ooh, I bet.
The cheapest one's like $350 on a card, and I'm just like,
ooh.
I should have bought her autograph card for like $100 when it was her rookie autograph card. The basic 99 was $100. I should have bought it. Because that would have been personal. That would have been my personal collection. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. But obviously, I mean, there's some other stuff too that's out in this thing too. I don't know how you feel about sharks and cocaine, but So sorry. That's the ash can, isn't it? Cocaine shark, or is it shark cocaine? What is it?
Oh, it is Cocaine Shark. Funny story behind that is when I was writing the script, I wrote Cocaine Shark into the comic script before I found out that Eric had already made a mock-up cover for Cocaine Shark. Because he was sitting on that idea before the Little Mercmaid stuff came up. And so I was like, well, shoot, I thought I was clever putting a cocaine shark in this book. And you were already sitting on the idea of Cocaine Shark. So let's make your Cocaine Shark book happen. And that's what is also taking it longer is the page expansion and the ash can were unlocked where, okay, we can afford to add these in to print run now. So that also means more pages to be drawn. The way the ash can is working is that's 100%. Eric gets to do whatever he wants. He's drawing it. And then I get to come in and come up with dialogue with what he's drawn, which is actually how a couple of pages in the Mercmaid book were done was just he drew up a page, like a random page. And he's like, I just really want this scene to happen. And I'm like, all right, give me, let me finish the script and I'll tell you what page number that page is going to be. Hold on. So, and I would go in and write it in to make sure it happened. Which is a lot of fun. Like, this is the most fun I've had working on a book is Mercmaid. And I think it's because of the nature of the book and the people involved. Like I said, we're all giggling like we're like super edgy, like middle schoolers, like, oh, what if...
So let me ask this, because obviously the ash can is a stretch goal reward. So how does that work right now? Because you've been funded fully for a while, and is there a cutoff with that? Because I know your storefront is still open, but I think you're still working on the book. I don't think it's gone to print yet, and so what's the deal with that? Because it's tricky sometimes when you're in that situation, because stretch goals can be limited, but also, stretch goals don't have to be per se. But also, I don't think you want to be printing 50,000 ash cans.
We will if we have to.
Oh boy.
Because they will go to backers up until we go to print.
I'll ask this way, because this is the question, I guess, is that if I back it tomorrow, what happens? Ash can or no ash can?
I believe you should be able to get the ash can. Essentially, well, for one, everybody permanently is getting the extra pages to the original book because the story was able to be longer, lengthened, which I really like.
Cutoff date. Should be like no extra pages for you.
Yeah, no, you're missing. You have to miss like this much of the story at the end there.
Take out like pages like 22 to like 40.
Oh, it'd be like no pages for you. You want those? It's extra. You got to buy them separate.
You should have a separate add-on. Oh, that'd be great. If I ever do a campaign, I swear to God, one of the tiers is going to be, we will crumple up your book for you and then ship it. We will sign the book in a crayon and send you the crayon with the book. It's going to be another one.
I know my friend, he goes, internet personality, Kami Mark. He's got some books. And aside from his current one, his previous books were like joke books just to kind of, get eyes turned his way and stuff like that. But the campaign for his joke book was freaking hilarious. He was offering the not chromium cover in which he wrapped the thing in tinfoil for you.
My idea would be to start with all the top stretch goals of like 100,000, and for every $1,000 we take away a stretch goal. I think it's a really funny idea, right?
That makes campaigns stand out sometimes is when you do funny stuff. It makes people remember, oh man, that one campaign for this book right
We
here
lost
was
all the
hilarious.
stretch goals. We lost all the
We
stretch,
lost them.
and I would say that a damn stretch goal. And people be like, I really want to back this thing, but everybody's getting 10 metal cards as we sit right now, and then you go down to 9, and then you know how you have to unlock? You lock stretch goals. Oh, it would be so sick.
I think what you should do if it's locking stretch goals, the stretch goals should be like bad things. And that's why you want to lock them.
Everybody owes me a sandwich at a con. You lock
Right.
that on 1,000. You know, I expect a round to be on you at the bar.
Mm.
And you just keep locking stretch goals all the way up. Like
we pre-burn your book, so you don't have to make that a lockable one instead of an unlockable one. That was another tier though that Mark had was we'll burn this book for you back the book, you bought it. I will burn it here so you don't have to.
That was the joke, is that for an extra $10, I will crumble up your book and throw it into a really, really bad media mailer. And I'm wondering if somebody would be, I'm really, of course, you send them a real book too, because it's not going to cost you all that much money, but somebody's going to be like, this is really, really funny. Or what you do is that you, for an extra $5 as an add-on, will do it live on air of the show.
I like the idea of an add-on being, I'll angrily throw it into a trash can and take a picture for you to use on social media so that you don't have to go through the trouble of throwing it in the trash can specifically to take a picture.
My favorite one that I want to do if I ever do a campaign, and feel free to be considered, is that I will print up 100 blank covers and I will fly out for 100 grand to your comic shop and do sketch covers with a crayon.
I'd offer that. I'd be like, yeah, you have to, that much money should hopefully cover room and board for me to do that.
Anywhere you want to go in the country, I will fly on a plane, first class, with all 100. I will do sketch things, and I'm wondering if somebody will actually buy it,
just to see if you do it, just to hold you to it.
The real question is that is somebody going to be a real dick and then do it and not pay, and then I'm stuck with $100,000 thing on Kickstarter? That's the only concern I have, but I think it's really funny nonetheless.
Yeah,
you leave it up for a day.
Yeah, just be like, and if it's something you don't want to do, obviously make it a ridiculously sized goal that you're not going to reach in that time.
The 100,000 would be really funny. You put that as like your top tier. Like you put $1 million top tier on there.
Yeah, we reached $1 million. I'll buy myself a van.
The pledge is $1 million. I will go and print as many blank covers as you want and sketch them in your comic shop. so I'll be like, yo, I'm taking next week off, guys, at my job. And I'll be like, why are you taking next week off? I gotta go to a comic shop. I did this stupid thing on Kickstarter.
Now I gotta do it.
Imagine some guy is really wealthy. He's like, yo, this is a great idea, man. I'm gonna totally back you because this is so ridiculous on a press level. Oh, it'd be great. But I digress. But
see, I love stuff like that. You have a very good question about the ash can. Like obviously the extra pages is permanent. How permanent is the ash can now that it is unlocked? Like I said, it's a very good question. And is it going to be a Fund My Comic exclusive, or is it already going to be available on the Kickstarter? Will be another one. We need to ask Pixel Trader, because he's the brains man and the numbers guy and the merch guy.
You do have a cover
and the marketing guy.
I think it's this cover, right? That is exclusive to Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
And so my question to you on that is that, are you going to have a cover to replace? Because is that cover D, I want to say?
Yeah, I think so.
So are you going to have another cover to replace cover D for Kickstarter?
Yes.
No, because that's a fair question too. Because sometimes on
Yeah,
second chance campaigns, so he says, "Look, this one is exclusive for here, and we're going to come up with something comparable because you're going to have completists
yeah,
by definition." And you know, no offense, but if I got everything I wanted on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or wherever else, and why would I go jump platform? But if you have another book, I'm like, okay, cool. Now we have something new here that didn't exist before. That not necessarily loving Kickstarter or loving Fund My Comic, but I need to be there if I want this.
yeah. I want everything available. Yeah, because I guess the main reason is to I guess different audience is what I keep getting told, that there's like Kickstarter purist that will only that, oh, I like your book if only it was on Kickstarter. I have seen that a lot. If only it was on this platform, that platform, then I would back it. But I don't think it's fair that they don't, I don't know, get anything for it out of it. So I do like the exclusive. There's at least one exclusive cover that you have to go there to get. But don't worry, people that stuck around and waited for it to be a Kickstarter instead. You get your own thing for backing, because these are still people that aren't just waiting for it to hit retail and then getting the retail stuff. So let me give you something special for backing it on one of the platforms at least.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's interesting with variants as well, and this is a problem with variants where that eventually I will get in my eBay shop a variant. I'm just not there yet. For a lot of reasons. The market is rough right now in
Mm.
comics, and obviously, I mean, you've done decent. I think you did 20,000 on this book, but 20,000 doesn't go that far. No
Not
offense.
when
No.
you're making the book. Not with all the merch either that Pixel keeps freaking.
So let me ask this, because I don't think 20,000 is nothing to balk about, right? Because 20,000 is still $20,000, and you could do a lot of stuff with $20,000 in comic books. But at the same time, 20,000 doesn't go that far. Now you're all in an equity position and not a page rate position, which means that your 20,000 is going much further than if you were paying page rates and cover rates and ink rates and stuff versus having sweat equity
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Um, but nonetheless, what is this like? Because you still got to produce a book, but it's also art is more expensive now than it's ever been before. Printing books is more expensive. Shipping books is more expensive. And I don't care if your buyers are paying the shipping or they're not, it's still more expensive. You
Yeah,
still
and
got
there's also the downside too of it fluctuates like crazy. So we can set our goal. The base goal is set on the numbers and the calculations we did at the time that we set the base goal. And then all sorts of things can fluctuate after that point, to where when we're ready to ship and do this and that, whoo, I'm glad we went over our goal, because otherwise we'd be still digging in our own pockets to finish this up.
it
That
happens on eBay.
that sucks.
It happens on eBay with me all the time with shipping alone. I mean, shipping is a good
Mm,
example of this, where I sometimes charge over shipping. Somebody goes, "Oh, why'd you charge me over shipping?" I'm like, because legitimately 3 months ago it was $11 and now it's $9 at the post office. I'm sorry, I made a call. If and then I say, cool. If it was the other way around, could I ask you for $2? And the person's like, no, you couldn't do that. I said, exactly. Would you like to go find another team and not play for the New York Jets? Anybody know that movie? Anybody know that movie?
no.
It's a great movie. It's Mr. Deeds.
Oh, the Discordia comic shop has the same goal, because they do. Yeah, yeah, and that's like, in an ideal world, everybody would be able to afford to just already have the comic, and you were literally just basically selling it through a crowdfunder, or just raising
Money for printing and
yeah,
shipping.
printing more of them. Yeah, and that's it.
I know plenty of people who so let me ask this, because somebody has enough skin in the game to wants to do a 32-page book, which is, I think, 28, 32 pages, I think, is the average for a one
Yeah,
issue, if it's not an
yeah,
oversize. So my take, and again, I haven't produced a book, so I could be completely wrong here, but I think 28 to 32 pages is ideal. I know plenty of people who have about enough to do 16 pages on their own, and then they need money to get the other 16 done and then print the book and ship the book, and it's still going to be tight. I also know plenty of people who say, I have 3,500, I'm scraping money together to do my book, and I have all the art. I have 3 covers covered somewhat, or, the Kickstarter is going to cover cover C, which is the more expensive cover, and then it's the printing and the shipping of the book. And they just don't have the money to do that. And then there's other people who say, look, my objective is that the art is already done and that everything is done on the book, but I just don't have the money to print it because I've taken money from my job and other things that I'm doing and side hustles, and I got my $4,000 or 4,500, and all the art's done, all the covers are done. I just can't print this shit without Kickstarter. And I think Kickstarter is meant for all of those people. But also,
yeah, I hate the arguments over if you don't have such and such, then you shouldn't be making a book and this and that. I'm just like, the crowdfunding is for crowdfunding. However much you need to fund, that should reflect in your goal. Then reflect that in your goal and on your campaign. Show how much you have done. Like, I won't back something unless they have something already done to show. Like, I've seen campaigns that are just, here's this character sketch and here's our plan and basically here's the plot. And I'm like, at least put up enough money to have something to show people to get that confidence in you.
It's an issue where I feel people need to have skin in the game. I feel people need to have skin in the game.
Yeah. And that's what that shows. You have like things already done, already funded for people to look at on your campaign. That shows that you've already invested.
In my eBay store, and I understand it's a little bit different, but the argument is the following, is that I carry a lot of merch, and I'm carrying anywhere from 27 to almost $70,000 worth of merch. That's not what I paid for the merch, but it's a lot of merch. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of capital that's been put in. I think it's a real problem when people don't have real capital in. Now, somebody only has 5 items, but they have $250 worth of items. That's their capital level, but they put something in as a starting business. When somebody doesn't have anything in there, and even on a Kickstarter, if you can only afford 6 pages, I'm not going to criticize you. But if you got to make it look pretty, you got to make it look nice, you got to tell me why you only have 6 pages to some degree. And you got to say, look, we're doing a 20-page book, and I only have 6 pages because that's what I can afford, but my goal is this, and I know where to find the other money. So
I think the goal should reflect how much you've already put in. And it should reflect. And 2, another one about low goals versus high goals. Having those low goals that if you only meet that goal, but you actually needed more than that, don't do that. Don't put a low goal if you can't
is a different piece,
accomplish. Though. If you can't accomplish it though with that low goal,
it depends. It depends. So if you're doing certain projects, you're gonna fund $30,000-$40,000. So
then it's fine. Yeah.
I'll give an example. Zenoscope's a good example of this. They did the Wonderland trading card series. They were gonna do 50,000 minimum, if not 90 or 95,000, very, very easily.
They can put whatever number they want on there because they know.
My friend Paul Gomez, and I love Paul, he's a good friend of mine. He can't put $100 goal. He has to put like a $1,500 goal or $1,000 goal because he needs more than 1,000, but he needs like 1,500 or 2,000. But he can afford to put $1,000 goal or a $1,500 goal, but he can't put $100 goal. But somebody like Mike Shea could put a $500 goal, or Dan Mendoza can put a $500 goal because they are going to just surpass that motherfucker within minutes of launching. In 30 seconds of launching, they're going to break that goal and then some. Unless something horrendous goes wrong. And if that's the case, that's a bigger issue.
If somebody's putting a $150K goal, they need to have a reason for that to be their goal.
No. Like Oshi Push had a $50,000 goal on their card game. They did $500,000. in a card game in 30 days on Kickstarter. They had a $50,000 goal because they needed 50,000. They, when I was speaking to them, because I interviewed their mascot, they were very surprised that they did $500,000. They were very surprised they did 250,000.
Dang.
I thought they were going to end up around 150,000. They thought they were going to end up around there too, to some degree. They did not expect 500,000. So again, but at 50,000, they would have made money and they would have been fine. But they if they put their goal at 10,000 and they funded and that's all they made, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah, my advice is usually put it as low as you can actually afford to put it, because canceling instead will hit your reputation. And this is for, like, if you're an established creator, you have tons of books under your belt, they've all been doing this similar numbers, then hell yeah, people already trust your name, trust your logo, whatever, put whatever you want. If you were a brand new creator, only put what you can afford. Avoid canceling at all costs, because nobody, everybody,
who said it, and I hate to get political. It is better to run than not to have run, and to have run and lost than to have not run at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't with a crowdfunding book though, because I've seen people nobody will turn back around when they tried to redo it. Everybody was like, nah, they canceled the first time. I ain't trusting that.
Is that if you don't fund the first time, it is better not to fund.
Oh, yeah.
Than to cancel.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the point. Because if you didn't fund the first time, now you're the underdog.
Yep.
If you cancel, your tail is between your legs. And that's a very different position to be in, unless there really is a good reason to cancel. Like, I know somebody who canceled their book, but their parent just died.
Yeah. And if it's something like that, if it's something like, instead of, I don't think we're going to make it, so I'm just going to cancel. No, just, you'll look more like you tried.
He relaunched on the book, did fine about 3 months later, but it was crystal clear that his position, he couldn't push the book anymore and it needed to be pushed. And so he basically said, I'm canceling. There was a family emergency and my attention is diverted, which is fine. So that happens. But also the person was, I think, like 18 or 19 campaigns in. So there you go. But I digress. This is a complicated tangent. And I'm sure
I like this one though. Like, this is some of the stuff that people don't talk about more. And I like to, because I can take what I've learned, and anybody else looking to start or confused or having problems might hear it and go, oh, maybe I'll try that. Discordia is correct here. They lost money, but they could afford to, I'm guessing. That's why I say put your goal at what you can afford, which means, if it goes wrong and you're paying out of pocket, how much can you afford to scrape out of pocket if you have to get it done? Which is what Discordia did there. And so that's correct. That is something that,
also, even about that point, there's also so I run an eBay business, and it's a little bit different than Kickstarter. But let's say you run a Kickstarter, but you also have a Shopify store, and you have a greater business in your whole, I guess, Kickstarter or Shopify, and that you understand that if you lose $3,000 in your Kickstarter, but you're getting merch out of it that you could sell at a con on the back end. That's also the other thing too, is that it's okay to lose money on Kickstarter if you understand that you just printed another 300 books. So I'll give you an example. Children's books are a really good example. Those are children's comics. They are good sellers at Comic-Cons and conventions. They are horrendous on, Kickstarter or Fund My Comic, because who is on those platforms? Adults.
Exactly. And you'll get the people buying them for their kids, but you're still more likely to get people buying souvenirs for their kids from a Comic-Con.
I just bought, Zenescope just did a plushie. I just bought something for my niece. I bought her a plushie off of that campaign. I'm not gonna go buy her. She's like 2.5. I'm not gonna go buy her a comic. And I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go if I take my niece to a Comic-Con, I will find something for my niece at a Comic-Con, but I don't know what it's gonna look like on Kickstarter. And so I'm not gonna go buy something for my niece on Kickstarter. It doesn't
Yeah.
work for me
Yeah.
in that sense. So, but at a con, if you fund your children's book and you ask for 500, you need 1,500 to print it, and you might have to go out of pocket, but you can make that money up at a con. I think you can. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I know it's logical to me, and I know that Drax asked what's a good
Who is
asking
this
point.
Drax guy?
Just looking at your chat, asking questions.
Drax Gal. He does these anime sick covers for Zenoscope. That,
Shoot. No, I just went off the first 4 letters, even with my glasses. These are actually the wrong ones. So I am really blind right now.
I know. I
But
love Gal's art. His art is amazing. It is amazing.
But yeah, what's a good starting point is just not a question anybody else can answer for you. You gotta crunch the numbers and look at what you've got to start with. You've got to figure out what a reasonable starting point is for you. If you're talking money, if you're talking like how much do I ask for on a campaign, you've got to crunch the numbers and figure it out. I always say the lowest you can get away with, the lowest you can get away with, and make good on your promises.
Also, I would make the argument as well that, and again, I'm not the Kickstarter guy, but I think you go 30 days, I think you go 45, I think you go 60. Also, with Fund My Comic, you could have a permanent, indefinite store.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is that if you set a goal and your goal is a little bit high, but it's going to be a slow burn. That's the other thing too, is that you could potentially, if you have 60 days on Kickstarter, and you're asking for $6,000, you need to only make $100 a day. Versus, if you want to go in and out in 14 days, it might be that you might want to ask for less because you have less of a timeline. So the longer a timeline you have, and it's just logic. The potentially the more you can raise, because you have to raise less each day if you're going to reverse engineer it.
And I definitely, like, for brand new first time, would suggest doing the 30 or 60 day where there's a cutoff. Because that's going to be easier on you to figure out too. But also it builds hype when there is a too late, when there is a time when you are too late to get in on this stuff. You have to wait for it to, go to retail and get the normal version that everybody else gets and not the special backer version. It really helps build hype with marketing. So I hardcore suggest putting a time limit. I think ours did. And then once we knew we were we met goal, we were like, okay, that means we can do this. And I think then Pixel opened it to storefront.
Again, I don't have these problems. I buy things though. There is FOMO without a doubt. I know for a fact that I buy really limited autograph cards, and those things sell out really quickly. And then I ask a lot of money for them on the back end. I'm terrible.
That's how you do eBay. That's how you're supposed to do it.
just because Audrey Wilson makes me money does not mean we have to hate Las Vegas.
I mean, there's people buying the backer versions of, like, the rare versions of comics and stuff just to put them on eBay for a lot more once the campaign ends and you can't get the whatever exclusives anymore.
I'm one of these people.
Yeah, see,
I have all of them. I bought all of these. I have every one of them, and that
nice.
is true. Actually, I have, technically it's an error book too, which is crazy because there's not 20 of these. There's 10 of these. So technically it's an error book. I sold one of them, and I have the other 9. So yeah.
There's people that back campaigns specifically to resell them for more because they are, rare exclusives for collectors.
I've done that. I bought limited 20s and I bought 2 of them and sold out quickly. And I know that I'm going to get a nice premium for it. So I am well aware. I play this game well. I've bought a bunch of stuff, from a lot of stuff. Yes, it is. It is a Shikari cover. It's a beautiful Shikari cover, and I have no problem admitting I'm a flipper. No problem admitting it.
Flippers only upset me if they buy all of something to where I can't get it at normal price.
I do.
When it only drives me crazy when I want the thing and a flipper's gotten to it first and bought all of it.
I'll be honest. I mean, I bought a bunch of Mount Olympus stuff and foils. A $30 foil I sell for $60. I don't 60, 65. I don't really sell it outrageously. The only reason why I do it, just so everybody's well aware, and because I got 40 people watching me, is that what's happened in the space, in my world, is that if I buy 3 of them, somebody else buys 3 of them, and then we get into a price war. And now all of a sudden, I have to sell that book for $40 and I make $1. On that whole thing, I took a huge risk. So by buying all 15 of them, I actually protect my risk factor.
You get to set the price at that point.
I get to set the price. I get to control it. And it's actually not that expensive. And I can finance it over 6 months. That cost me $8 in interest, which means that because I can set the price, I can actually suffice the interest. Because this is the only way I can survive my eBay business now. And it sucks because price wars suck. And this is coming. And again, I'm surprised this hasn't actually started. I'm surprised that nobody has actually copied what I've done with Mount Olympus. And I've made it crystal clear on my Facebook page and on my personal page what I've done and what I'm going to do. And I'm surprised nobody has copied it. I'm
surprised too.
I'm genuinely shocked. Because again, if everybody was copying it, what it would actually do is that it would make, if I got a whole subsection, it would make it even more valuable. I want like 5 people like me doing this because it's actually going to make what I have more valuable.
Oh, that makes sense too. Yeah.
This is not altruism at all. This is capitalism. I have no problem admitting what I am and what I do. Because when I have all of these and somebody else buys another Shikari like this, and then they're freaking controlling that price and everybody's controlling it, we just started a price war, and that benefits everybody. It's not altruism. It's not me getting anybody else rich. It's legitimately my plan. And if that upsets people, well, I'm sorry. But I would like to be really, really wealthy in life. And I'd like to be really free. So
yeah, that's why I said the flippers only drive me nuts when I'm the one that wants the thing and I can't get it.
I'll ask this because, and it's a fair question, is that if you have 20, if somebody puts a limited 20 out on their campaign and somebody buys all of it, and that gets you funded, the whole position is that isn't that good for you as your campaign if it funds you? And then B, don't you want your product to be a commodity? This to me is a stock. That's all this is. I'm an equity stock guy. This is a stock. It is a commodity. There is no emotion attached to this book. It's a beautiful book. Actually, I'm keeping this one because this one's number 1 out of 20, but not the point. The other 8 that I have left, they are pure stock to me. And
this is also why people back for different reasons or buy for different reasons. I know that some people are backing my projects simply because they like me. So they don't care. They don't care about it. They don't care what it is. My name's on it, right? My name's on it. They're my friends. They're backing it or buying it because me. I know plenty will back or buy something just because they like the artist on it and are never going to read it. They're just going to look at the pictures or something. Some people are doing it for the collector's value. I always just hope, at the end of the day, I hope somebody read it. If somebody read it, I'm good.
So let me ask you this, because this is actually a really interesting question, is that, and I'm not going to tell you, I'll tell you what would I view after, but I'm curious, I don't want to influence your position. Do you care how you get funded? Or do you care that you get funded?
Wait, do I care what?
Legally. So
Yeah. I was like, as long as it's legal, that's what I'm saying. I don't care why
yeah.
you backed or bought the thing. The fact is, you backed or bought the thing. So at the end of the day, I sold a thing or something. You know what I mean? You're like, if you backed it or whatever, just so you could make a put on the theatrics about dramatically throwing it in the trash and recording yourself. I don't care. You help me make that thing. If you don't want it, you don't want it.
I'll give you, this is how I feel, right? Is that if I need capital, and there's been plenty of people who have bought me a coffee, which is basically, throw me $5 and say, hey, I really appreciate you having me on your show. I appreciate everything because what you've done, and I want to see independent media continue. A bunch of people then said, I want some ads. And so they did it through Buy Me a Coffee. A bunch of people feel bad because I stuck my neck out for them and I introduced them to 10 people like, hey, how do I thank you? I'll give you $10. And then a bunch of people say, you know what it is? I want to, add lives, or I want to buy a bunch of spots. I want to be on your show every single month.
Oh, dang.
So I want to just secure my spot. Can I give you $30 and we could do literally 12 to interviews a year, right? Because somebody feels comfortable enough to say, look, I know that you have a busy schedule and I want to become a priority. So there's plenty of people where it's business for them and it's a tax deductible position because they're buying marketing and they're buying ad space and they're buying a secured spot. And there's plenty of people saying, I just like you and I like independent media. I don't really care what your reasoning is, why you want to do my show. What I care about is that you're writing me a check. And that's where I think this is interesting.
It sounds, it sounds cold and callous, but I'm like, I can't keep, because I like the writing part, I'm hyped for people to actually read and enjoy it. But I also know in order to get it in people's hands, we need the backers. It needs to, fund. So I don't know, for whatever reason that you're funding it is whatever. And I think on every campaign, we've had at least one tier where somebody immediately, like the second we went live, bought up the entire tier. And we would have people complain, like, I wanted one of those and it says you're out and it's only been 2 minutes. And it'll be like, yeah, one person bought them all. Why? Maybe they're going to put them on eBay.
I mean, it is what it is, and it's the game. And look, it is. I understand that happens with a bunch of people. I bought out a bunch of cards. I mean, I just bought out 5 Jalen Brunson cards. I'm a huge card collector, and I'm specking on some of Jalen Brunson. The Knicks are pretty good. That's the other thing too. And I'm excited for those cards. And they're not autographed, but they're limited 5s. And again, I was hunting the 1 of 5. So I wanted the number 1 card out of the set. So that's the other thing too, because the number 1 card is worth more than the number 5 card. The number 1 card has a premium of $30 to $40 on it, easy.
Yeah, because it's the first you get the special number.
Rather than risk the whole thing, I'll throw something out. I have some Taylor Swift's over there, right? What's Taylor Swift's number? 13, right? What if there's 25 of a book and somebody buys all 25? Not because they want all 25, they want the number 13 book.
They want to make sure that, yeah.
So, and this sounds crazy, but there's premium value to certain things. Or this is a number 1 serialized book.
So that's why blind boxes are also like genius, because I've bought an entire thing of a blind box thing to make sure that I get the one that I wanted. Because they at least said, well, if you buy that entire box, there's a guarantee you'll get one of the one you wanted, depending on what it is that you're buying blind boxed. But so I've done that before, like when I could afford it. Like, I want this one, so I'm gonna buy them all.
I've done that. I've also bought a bunch of blind things of 100 and 216 cards. I bought like 4 of them because it increased my odds of getting low numbers. Now, it just so happens that I pulled a very low number on the first open, and then I sold the other 3. But not the point. I pulled 6 out of 10.
Real life RNGs, sometimes it blesses and sometimes it punishes.
Right. It is what it is. So that but again, that's how I feel. And I have no problem if people have an opinion about me. Um, I have no problem about that. This hasn't been a secret about what I do. I mean, it's pretty evident that I've been doing this for years.
Yeah, I know. I only curse flipping when it affects me personally. And so it's like a personal, like, curse you, not a, this is terrible. People shouldn't do this. It's a, darn it. I'll
But
get you
also,
next time.
I mean, I've been in situations where there's only 200 or 250 of an item, and it's not that somebody bought even like 10 of them or bought 4 of them. It just sold out really quickly. And like I bought 2 of something because I wanted to increase my odds. So there's a company called Leaf Metal, and they do Leaf Metal anime sports cards. And it's just an issue where, if you buy 3 packs, your odds of getting some parallels that are lower than 99s are higher. Just statistically. So, that's just what it is. And so a bunch of people bought 2 or 3, and it's not that somebody bought 50 of them. It's the idea that, somebody, did that. So here's what it is. Who's this Wise Guys Entertainment? I don't know who
I
that is.
know.
I don't know
I
who that
know,
is.
wise.
I feel like it's some, interesting stuff that might be a collaboration with 2 companies that I thoroughly enjoy. I think it's Pat Chan or Ralph Tedesco.
Who, wise guys?
Yeah, it
Nope.
didn't Pat Chan, is it? Oh, maybe it's not. I I thought Pat Chan just did Wise Guys, the comic.
Oh. He did it. No, his thing is based on his name.
Oh, my my
It's a
my
play
bad.
on. Yeah,
I
it's a play on words.
that. My bad.
Oh, no,
That
no.
my
I did one of the
sorry.
Discordia says some will get multiple accounts of Hog Awards and then let the payment fail. That's happens too. It's one of those, like, it's a risk of doing anything on the internet, pretty much.
That's fucked up.
It does suck, but then you get to make the announcement of, hey, all you people that were, upset you missed out on such and such. Well, it's available.
But I digress. We covered a lot of stuff. But we haven't gotten to the fun stuff yet, which is politics. No.
Ooh.
And then after that, we're gonna do religion.
Oh no, I got, look at the time.
But I do want to back out of the whole Kickstarter stuff and everything in that, right? Um, yeah. Clearly, I didn't look at somebody's name. But there's so many things I could say. But anyway, but I am curious now that I've regained my composure. Where do you see comics and going, because we're in tricky times right now. People are doing some people are doing great on campaigns. Other people are getting destroyed on campaigns. Other people are somewhere in the middle. And I've also witnessed and I challenged somebody to a debate they didn't accept, where they said
Hmm.
creativity is stifled. And I said, I don't think it's creativity. I think money is stifled. I think a lot of creative, this is just my opinion. I'm curious what you think. And I might get some shit for this. I think a lot of people are saying it's a tough economy. And instead of doing 4 campaigns this year, maybe I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to see where things are going based on how the first campaign does. Because if your funding journey is tougher, where you used to fund in a week and now you're funding in week 2, and that you're expecting 18,000 and you only do 16, you might reconsider and wait for, I guess, better times might be a good way to put it. So I'm curious where you see that going, because that's what I see, and I'm going to be very honest. I am very much pulling back from Kickstarter and crowdfunders right now.
I was gonna say, I think money is tight for a lot of people, so not as many are taking chances on kind of the unknown. So I think it's probably hardest for like the newest creators on the scene, um, to kind of get their foot in the door crowdfunding wise, because less people are willing to take a risk with their money right now. I mean, it's the same reason that I don't go to the movies nearly as much as I used to, is because I don't take a risk on movies I don't 100% know I am definitely down for this movie. There's no way it could disappoint me, which is why I only go to Godzilla movies lately. If it's got Godzilla in it, I know I'm going to have fun. So I haven't gone to many movies because I won't take a chance on, a movie or a concept or a remake or whatever they're doing. They're spitting out there. And so I haven't been able to back as many. I haven't even been able to back my own, like my friends that, I love your book. I know I'm going to love your book. I've backed your other books. I can't even back this. I have to wait for it to, come out later, retail, and hope that, I'm in a better place. So, I do think, I'm not blaming the economy, but I do think that the overall economy has the first place you're going to notice where people are hit is entertainment, because that's the first thing that's going to get dropped off of somebody's I need money for list. They're more worried about their mortgage, their rent, whatever. They're more worried about eating. The first thing they're going to drop is entertainment.
Feel that Kickstarter and crowdfunders are expensive? To be honest, I mean, because I'll be really, really honest. I mean, I'm a big anime guy, and Crunchyroll costs me $80 a year. I think that Peacock, because I like wrestling and I like WWE, that's like $6 or $7 a month. So that's not expensive. Netflix is like 15. So at a certain point, I'm looking at what is going to be the biggest bang for my buck. And then all of a sudden I look at a crowdfunder, and then I'm like, great, this took 4 to 6 months to get to me. I backed it. It's not even so much that it was $20 or $100 or $150. It's that I need the entertainment when I backed it. And now life moves on. And so I'm like, great, like I needed the entertainment when I backed it. I mean, like that's my problem right now too, is that
a lot of it comes down to why you're backing the thing too. Because I've done a bunch of back it and forget it, because I'm like, I'll get it when I get it. I trust my friend kind of deal.
I know, I don't know if Discoria is still watching, but I have Cherry and I enjoy Cherry, and I bought it because I want it on my bookshelf. There's no question about that. I want that on my bookshelf, and I enjoy reading parts of it. But it's a book that I want on my bookshelf, right? So when I back a book on my bookshelf, that's a different backing reason too. Versus saying, one of my favorite books of all time is Catch It One. I love Catch It One. Brilliant book. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to ruin anything for it. It's about Vietnam, and it's a great book. I also wanted that book on my bookshelf because I can go get that book off the internet. With it's pretty accessible on the internet. It's like a $5 digital download for the whole thing. But I want it on my bookshelf. I don't even want to read Cherry. I think I have the digital file of Cherry. I don't even want to open up the book of Cherry. I want it on my bookshelf so that, God forbid, in 20 years, I have a beautiful Cherry book on my bookshelf. Because I think it's an important book to have on a bookshelf. This book, Miss Me, I think this is Miss Meow. I think it is. I could be wrong. Whatever it is, not so much on my bookshelf. I thought you guys did do it digital. My bad, Discoria. My bad. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But the point remains the same: is that I want that book on my bookshelf because it is a bookshelf book. That Cherry book is not it's a coffee table bookshelf book. But I'm selective on that. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same. They said COVID boosted. Dude, I did my best during COVID. And I think that's because the financial part of COVID hadn't hit anybody yet. The being desperate for, stuff to do was there. Everything started to actually dwindle after that point.
I did. It's funny, right? I did my best on eBay during COVID too.
Yeah.
And here's why. This is my viewpoint, right? I think I did, and I think a lot of people did really well on COVID because people weren't going to their jobs, they weren't commuting, they were working from home, right? So now your car's not getting beat up, You're not taking the train. You're not using Metro North. I live in Connecticut / New York area, tri-state area. So great. You're now at home. You're not, bars are not happening, concerts aren't happening, events aren't
They're
happening.
saving a lot of entertainment money so that they can
Sports
spend
are in
it.
a dome, guys. The NBA was in a dome for like the playoffs. So it was the weirdest finals ever. But not the point. So now everybody had money. And now, reason why I think people are having a harder time is that we got inflation, and also people are back in work, and people might be in a hybrid. But guess what? You're in a day or two every single.
Yeah.
So guess what? You're now back in your job 40%, and you're getting accustomed to it, and people haven't adjusted yet, and it's also just everything is more expensive because McDonald's and going to the Cheesecake Factory are legitly the same fucking, position. And it's crystal clear that things have become more expensive. And
Yeah.
and I could go through a whole macro position and a micro position on this. And the answer is simple. It's simple. It's you have to raise the rates up even more. It's gonna suck, but it'll work. And again, it's an unpopular opinion. It's an unpopular opinion. The rates right now should be 9% because it would kill inflation. It would kill it, and it would end it, and we would be reset it back in 18 months.
I would love that.
It would be a lot of pain, and it would definitely fuck up a lot of shit for 18 months, without a doubt. 18 to 2 years at the most. But then we would have another 20-year bull run following it. So everybody just needs to grab a life vest and learn how to swim. I'm a good. I know how to swim.
I was gonna say, I'm from Louisiana. It was like a requirement. You have to know how to swim. Man. Your house gonna flood. You got to swim your ass out there. Woo! And dodge gators. But I know, like, this started from saying the price of the crowdfunded books way back when there was like a crowdfund comic boom. I guess the biggest ones that were doing really good, I feel like for a little while set the standard. And everybody, the smaller ones, the new creators and stuff kind of just followed suit. Okay, this many pages, this kind of binding, around this flat price. And that worked. That was also, close to during COVID, and everybody was just kind of like, okay, sounds good. Now, after that, people start getting more picky. Well, I mean, but why is it this much? And stuff. So everybody's kind of fluctuating and kind of finding their groove. I think everybody's still comparing, prices with each other. With other campaigns, like, okay, how big is their book? All right, they're asking this much, so ours is like this many more pages. Maybe we go up $2, or down, up or down.
Let me ask this, because, and this is something that I'm curious about. So I have a decent feedback rating on eBay, and I'm dealing with some feedback that's fucked it up a little bit, but neither here nor there. In full disclosure, it'll get addressed in the long run. But somebody might pay an extra 25 cents for me on a card because I have a good feedback, because they know the card's going to be shipped appropriately, safe, and protected. So that's also another thing too, is that
I think relates a lot to the goal price too, is the record you already have helps you can get away with a goal price, a smaller goal price than you actually need to.
I think that's it. It's also the idea that if I come across 3 horror books, right, in July that are going to get to me in October, right, I think that, cool, if this creator has shipped me before decently, has done a great job, and is pretty solid, that also helps where I might pay more for a quality creator and a good shipping team versus somebody who I've had bad shipping experiences with, is delayed. And I think that's also the other thing. If somebody says, I'm going to get you your book in 2 weeks from now, I might pay $10 more. I genuinely might pay more. I might pay $10 more. I might pay a premium to get a product in a certain quality.
Yeah.
Or if somebody's going to they have serialized and they say, Andrew, I'm going to get you low numbers, I might pay more to get low numbers if it's a serialized numbered book. And I understand that sounds weird and it's called pay to play or pay for value. Or if I have a favorite number, right, and I get to pick my number, and I love, like, I don't have a favorite number, but again, if I did and somebody's willing to get me my favorite number, I might pay more for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, you can chunk that all the way down to just expedited shipping is the same deal. Like, ship it to you in this many days if you pay this much more.
I just paid for something from Japan because a bunch of people are coming to an anime con near me, and there's these One Piece cards, and they're promo cards, and I want the voice actors to sign them. So hopefully those cards are going to get to me faster and reach me in the next week or two before that con. If they don't, it's not a big deal. It's like $10. I'm not going to sweat over $10. But the idea is that all of a sudden, expedited shipping or faster shipping, things like that matter. And I'm willing to pay more for them to arrive perfectly and fast. And that's just how I feel. And I understand that, and I'm also willing to give a creator who can do that more money or a surcharge. And if your project is a year out, I expect you to be cheaper. And I know it sounds weird. Again, my opinions are not conventional. But if you're going to put me at the bottom of the pile, if you put me at the top of the pile, I'm willing to pay for that. For a lot of reasons, the top of the pile usually has better quality. If there was 1,000 of these books, I think it's safe to say that number one probably is printed better than number 1,000. All of them might be printed beautifully and fine. I'm willing to bet, though, that number one is probably printed a little bit better, and the plate's fresh, and the ink's fresh, and the ink isn't out for the last time, and the plate isn't fucked up, and it hasn't gone through 99 other books being there.
Yeah.
I'm willing to
exactly, though.
That's how I feel, but I digress.
Oh, I can guarantee it. I've worked in print production. Whew.
Again, I think logically. That's all I think on is I think logically. I do not think in which, and again, I don't know everything. So there might be things that I'm wrong on.
The sweet spot technically isn't even the first one.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know what the sweet spot is, but in a limited print run, if there's only 15 of them, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like
yeah.
But that's also a different print position completely. I would imagine if you're printing only 15 books in a serialized number, hopefully all 15 of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it'd be really bad if like number 3 was shitty. Really
just randomly they mess that one up. No, something's wrong if number 3 is stupid, like shitty. Like generally after a few go through is when you hit the sweet spot.
I don't expect that Merc book to be a 10. I do expect it to. It looks like a 9.6 and 9.8 CGC'd out. If that came back as like a 9.2, that'd be fucked up. Those should be 9.6s and 9.8s. Easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're talking freshly, sent to somebody.
That book's never even come out of its top holder. So that book should be a 9.6 minimum. But I digress.
I've also never worked with anybody that wouldn't just send another one if if whatever somebody received wasn't pristine on their end, even if it was because of shipping, because of outside of their control, I've not worked with anybody that hasn't immediately been like, all right, hold on, we'll send you another one, and hopefully, the post doesn't kick it down the street.
Comics Elite just did almost like a showcase Shikari book of Born of Blood, and they said we didn't like the way they came out, so we're delayed by another 2 months on it.
That happens too. Yep, because we check them before that even.
They
Or
said
you should be. You should be checking your comics fresh from the printer, every single one, as you.
They said that it was like too dark, the brown on it, and they didn't like it, and they're like, we're delayed, and they said we're not going to send out a bad book like this.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Shouldn't.
I don't have a problem with that. It's an expensive book. It's like a $50, $60 book. So bought a bunch of them, and I'm more than happy to wait to make sure it's right. But
that's why I much rather wait until it's perfect, and instead of rush anything.
Fair enough. But anyway, we've been speaking for a while. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't know how my sports teams are doing, which is a problem. I got money on the Celtics. I got money on the Yankees. That one's a toss-up though, because they are playing the Dodgers. But Aaron Judge is hot right now, and I mean in more than one way. But that Juan Soto is the future. Because it only takes one or Juan. I'm sorry, it's too easy. But I do want to give you a chance to self-promote yourself.
Uh-oh. See, I'm so bad at that. That's why for this book, Pixel's the promo guy. Like, he's really good at it. I write comics and I edit other people's comics. I'm writing well, actually, I'm changing everything I'm doing about it, but I'm writing a free web novel in my free time that might become a web comic or digital comic that I draw for free just to gauge interest if anybody ever wants it as an actual book or comic book. That's been my little back project, which is why it's going really slow, is because I need money. So the free stuff takes a really long time for me to do because I'm busy doing the money making stuff, mostly editing comics. I have a couple projects that are in various stages of starting, honestly, so I can't really announce any new comics right now. But go to my X to keep up with what I'm doing, and I promote a lot of other people's comics on there, especially biased towards ones that I'm editor on, but because then I know they're good. But no, when I'm not talking comics, I am also shit posting. So if you like that kind of stuff, then follow me over there. It's like the fastest way to find out what I'm doing right now because my website went down and I don't know how to website good. So
fair enough. And I'm just going to keep saying it, and I'm going to say it again and again and again, that if you like comics and you want to support anything comic related or any indie project for that matter, it doesn't have to be comics. If you're interested in movies, indie movies, other projects, other podcasts, whatever it is, you have to support those things. And typically, obviously, with comics and people are doing crowdfunders, there is a way how to do it by supporting their crowdfunders. Is the first and foremost way to do it. If they have shops where they sell their products outside of their Kickstarters or their crowdfunders or their Fund My Comics or wherever else they're crowdfunding, support there as well, and those shops, as well as just following people on social media, following people on Twitter/X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Facebook, if I don't already mention Facebook, I might have. YouTube is a big social media platform. I don't know if the kids still use Snapchat. If you got a locals, you should be supporting people on locals. If you're on Rumble, you should get down and ready to rumble. You should be supporting people there, because all that stuff matters and it goes a long way. And you'd be surprised a Twitter follow or an X follow or a Facebook like or an Instagram follow, it can go a long way and it can be just as helpful. And people should say hi. And liking posts also is really, really helpful. So
I was
that's
gonna say, like, there's plenty of ways to support creators without, money if you can't buy their stuff. Like just sharing their stuff, helping promote it in your free time by,
saying
sharing,
hi.
liking.
There's plenty of bad days, and somebody's like, "Hey, man, how are you doing? Did you see what happened in comics today?
Yep, plenty of support is free if you need it to be
hugs are useful sometimes. I'm gonna just say that a hug is useful. Or hey, how are you doing? I'm pretty accessible, everybody. Like this, you could just. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say you should slide into my DMs, but you really should not. That could come out the wrong way.
That would be way worse if I said it, though. That would backfire.
Clearly, there are very few people could slide into my DMs that way. Very few people. Now everybody wants to know who my friends are. So clearly,
if you have a channel, just letting them on your channels too. To do stuff. I have a channel, but I only do one show, and it's just like an open panel hangout show. So I do encourage creators to go on it because we end up in these kind of conversations where the tangents don't matter because it's a freestyle show anyway, and then promote their stuff in the chat and on the screen and stuff.
That's what I'm saying is that there's a lot of ways how to be supportive. If you know somebody's having a bad day, just be like, hey, how are you? That goes a long way sometimes. Sometimes a hi goes a long way. A thank you. How you doing? Oh, man, liking somebody's picture. Somebody puts up a cute cat picture. Usually liking it helps. Just saying that you could like somebody's Twitter post and it's literally a click of the button and it doesn't cost you anything. So, again, a lot of ways, as you were saying, to be supportive of people that won't cost you anything except 2 minutes of your time at the most. But I'm gonna go promote myself now because it is my show. Obviously, I am Pop Anime Comics on the Twitter / the X. You can go follow me there. You can not follow me there. I post rarely on Twitter now. That doesn't mean it would change. If you're really into wrestling, when I get back into wrestling, I love tweeting to wrestlers, and I am savage. And my Thursday nights and my Friday nights a few years ago were full of wrestling tweets, and it's some of the best conversations you could ever watch. Is when you're arguing with a wrestler and like 90 tweets between each other. It's amazing. It's amazing. And like 15 people are jumping in. Oh, it's like the greatest sport on the planet. Those are fun. And
I used to do that with with celebrities and comic creators, big ones.
It's amazing though because they're the heel and I'm the face, right? So now I'm telling people, and I'm telling a wrestler, like, dude, like, it's great when you're tweeting to MJF, and if anybody's a wrestling fan, when he's legitly MJF on the indie scene, and he's responding to you as MJF does. Oh, there's nothing like it on the planet. There's nothing like it that somebody's giving you time and basically trying to destroy you on Twitter as a wrestler. So my Twitter in a few weeks will probably be more like that, and it is a fun time. So I recommend everybody, if you're into that, feel free to do that. But going further outside of that, I am Pop Anime Comics on Instagram. I am Pop Anime Comics on the Facebook. You can come find me, check me out, see what I do. I am Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. Also, I do have an eBay store right here, guys. Look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay. I am Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And on eBay, we sell books like this. I have all 15 of those. Yes, I do. In beautiful hollow foil. I have all 15 of these in beautiful hollow foil. I am a Taylor Swift fan, and I'm a proud Taylor Swift fan. I did not buy all 15 of these. There was, I think, 100 of these. And I got 2 of them. And one of them is already sold. So it is a beautiful book, and Shikari did an amazing job with that one, and I'm just very lucky that I got one of those. So I carry merch like that. And then there's just some other stuff I got, as well as apparently I do carry a lot of cards. And I've been getting complaints from my customers, though, with this card in particular, because apparently they can't see it.
Yeah.
So apparently they can't see it. And it's a beautiful card.
Why'd you show a blank card? Is it supposed to be blank? I can see the
I
card. I just it's blank.
I can't see it. It's a problem. I called up Leaf Metal. They're like, we can't see it either, and this is the problem we have. And
Dang.
so this is the world we live in, guys. This is the world we live in. So if you're looking for cards that you can see, I may be able to help you there. And if you're definitely looking for cards that you can't see, I got you covered too. So that's everything that I got. But I sell everything from like $300 comics to $5 baseball cards. So there's something for everybody in my eBay store, and I ship out pretty good. And if you're looking for really cool stuff, WNBA is really hot in my store right now. Comics are really hot, and yeah, this is what I do. And I got you hooked up. And again, as I've been saying for a very long time, if I don't have what you're looking for, chances are I know somebody who does. And I am more than happy to direct you to the right person in that fashion. So that's everything that I got going on. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh, back Little Mercmaid, dude. It's gonna be sweet. Sorry, I'm still laughing at the card thing. And make sure to show Pixel Trader and Eric, Dreaded Dinosaur Man. He's behind that webcomic. Some love. It's their comic too. I'm just the coolest one of the group, just saying. I'm the prettiest, okay, of the group. So that's pretty sad, actually. That's really sad. And Sergeant Slaughter is a cool guy. He chats with me sometimes, and it's always a hoot.
Well, on that note, everybody, I believe that is a wrap.